Well, hello, everybody. Welcome once again to another episode of the Tell 'em Sis podcast. This is the place where we have real conversations with real people. I like to say real people are people that are my people that's dealing with everyday life, people that are touchable, obtainable, people that are going through the process. But not only that, we have raw conversations. So I'm super excited about my guest today. And if you don't know her, you have to go look her up. Her name is Whitney Barbary, and I would say she is Whitney Barbary Enterprise. She
Mhm.
is a wife, she's a mom, she's faith filled, she is a business owner, a mover shaker. She's one of the most dynamic coaches that I know. I have gotten products from her, I have gotten services from her, and I think she coaches a lot of people without them saying they're really being coached. So I just want to introduce her, and I'm happy to have her here. And we just gonna have some raw conversations. And again, my name's Micah. I'm your host. I am that one, that midwife, that pusher, that's saying, "Don't quit, don't quit, don't quit. You're almost there."
Mm.
Welcome to the Tell 'em Sis podcast show.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi.
hi.
Tell them,
How
sis.
are
I love
you?
that name.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
if
like,
people
tell them.
knew. Tell them, yeah. That was the eulogy I preached at my brother's funeral.
Mm.
That is where that came from, and it means something to me. I never
Hmm.
thought it would be a hashtag. Who would have thought
I,
what you preached at a funeral is going
I
to be your
know.
hashtag?
I know.
That's
Oh my
that's
goodness.
that's
Yeah.
insane. But yeah, we'll dive some more into that like on another podcast. But yeah, tell them, sis. But that's just what it is, sis.
Mm.
From my brother, tell them I'm counting on you to tell them. I'm counting on you to be the truth. I'm counting on you to
Mm.
be raw, uncut. I know you love the Lord, but it's stuff they not
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Real.
I wanna introduce you to my tribe. Some of my people are your people. Uh,
Hmm.
but you my people. Like
Yeah.
like with you my people. I met you on Clubhouse.
Hmm.
Um yeah, we just connected in the spirit because there's not very many people, people in the social media world, they come on and they already got these facades and all this made up stuff. And I got it, it's scripted, but that's for acting, that's for entertaining. And to
Mm.
me, coaching, connecting, consulting, that's not acting. So I can't really have a script for that
Yeah.
because it can change at any time.
Yeah.
It can change at any time. And so this month we're talking about money. We're
Mm.
talking about mental health. We're talking, which has become a big word that's used, but it's also
Mm.
oversaturated. It's
Wow.
it's
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy. I'm gonna be talking about menopause because they didn't tell me about these night sweats and all that other
Yeah.
stuff. you know and just it's mommy month, and
Mm.
I just want to dive in and have a conversation because I think that's what this is all about. How are you?
I'm good. I'm
I'm
just excited.
Yeah, what have you
I
been
love
up
doing
to?
podcasts. Oh my gosh. Business.
Yeah,
Business.
yeah,
Business.
business.
It's we're in a season, it's all business right now.
Okay, that's
A lot of
okay.
business stuff. Yeah. Just a
Yeah.
lot of business. A lot of what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know the word I'm looking for. I overhauled a lot of things in my business. So we're in business right now.
Yeah.
We're like in
Yeah.
a season of excellence. Like I'm just trying to refine what I'm already delivering to my clients.
Ooh,
And
I
we're
like that.
focusing more on client delivery over income growth right now. So I'm just in it, like in my office all the time, just working, thinking, creating. That's where we are. So it's been business.
It's funny because I think, I like talking about the word shift, but I think there's like this national, worldwide shifting right now where people are
Mm.
realizing I don't need anything new. I need
Wow.
to I need to sharpen what I have. Like
Mm.
we love to cook. And so my husband makes a mean brisket on the grill.
Yeah.
But after the brisket's done, if you don't have a good knife, and so you'll be like, "Oh, I need a new knife." And he's like, "Babe, we don't need a new knife. It just needs to be sharpened. This is one of the best knives that you can get, but you use it so much, it gets dull. But if
Hmm.
we sharpen it, it's like new money.
I know.
It's like
It
new money.
is. That's interesting you say that. I think a lot of people are spending, I see a lot of my clients are spending a lot of money trying to get new, because, I'm a business coach. So I talk business with my clients. I see a lot of people, they just want another strategy. They want another
Mhm.
strategy and a new strategy and another strategy and a newer strategy and that strategy. And there's people that are tens of thousands of dollars in the hole just trying to get the next coach with the next strategy and the other business model. And they're on their fifth certification because that's the one that's going to, if I just get this certification, the clients will come and I'll feel more confident. And I'm like,
Where do you think that comes from? I mean, like, what's the, I mean, I see that. So when I say that, the people I know that are really killing it in the game, that's moving forward, they're not
mm,
concentrating on the massive amount of numbers. They're recalibrating, they're
mm,
realigning, they're digging in. Hey, this is what I have, this is what I have to work with. And I say that because I deal with that with people with
oh
ministry.
my gosh.
What's the
Yeah.
new word? What's the next thing? It's the same freaking God.
It's, there were you and no, I was talking to I have a client and friend. He's a friend, Darby. We were talking about this, but he's very prophetic and he was just talking about people coming to him wanting word after word. And I remember we just had a conversation where I said, there was a woman, a prophetic voice. Her name is Angela Greenig, and she came around here a couple times in a row before COVID happened. She used to come yearly she has a connection to a church in Kentucky. And so I would go see her every year because I just love her because she's a Spitfire, but people know she's prophetic and they just want word after word after word. And she said she got to the point where I think what she said was God had just told her, like, don't give them more words until they've done something with the last one.
Mhm. Yeah,
So people would come up to her and she'd be like, what did you do with the last one? I'm not giving you another word.
yeah.
And I just thought, yeah. And I think that's where we're at. I think it's the same thing in ministry. I think it's the same thing in business. People are
Yeah.
like, oh, I'll just get it. It's the lazy way out. That's why we want another word. We don't want to have to think for ourselves. We don't want to have to
Uh,
believe for ourselves. We don't want to have to seek God for ourselves.
yeah, we
We
don't
don't
want to
want
do
to
the
have to,
work.
we don't
Yeah.
want to, exactly. We
Yeah.
don't want to have to try something
Yes.
to see if
Yeah.
it works or not. We're like, I'll just keep getting word after word after word after word. And then maybe I'll have a perfect plan where I'll never have to experience failure. Like if I just get enough words, I'll just know exactly what I'm supposed to do and the exact right step, and I'll never have to fail and I'll never be uncomfortable. They do it in business, they do it in ministry. It's just,
Yeah, they do it in, I mean, they do it in their everyday life with basic stuff, whether they're working for somebody or themselves.
right.
And you're exactly right. It's just laziness. How do you So, dealing in business, we've all been at a space where the income wasn't there yet, the next expansion or even having the capacity. What would you say was Whitney's moment? What was your pivotal moment point where you were like, I need to shift to get my business, my purpose, my mandate, everything to the next level? What was that? Because people will look, they'll look on, and they love to look on social media, and they see, my mom says, they see all the glory, but they don't know the story, nor do they know the work. But for you, because you are a different mindset, you are a mindset. When I look at you, when I listen to you, when I read your posts, it's not that you're not a person that doesn't feel or doesn't go through anything, but you have a mindset, and that's what it is, a mind that has been set, that my thought patterns are not going to go all the way over there. If they do, they're not going to get stuck there. And that my business is important to me. Making money is essential to me. So when people say I'm in business and it's not about the money, you lie. That's just like somebody saying, oh, I want you to invest in this, but there's no risk. There's a risk in everything.
There's always a risk.
So
And
what
it's
was that
always about the
turning?
money.
Yeah, what was that turning point for you?
I think there's been iterations. I think we always have moments. We always have our come to Jesus moments, right? It happens at every level. You have to go um at every level. I mean, because I'm like, well, I don't know which one. I'm like, which one? Um, because I've been in business 6 or 7 years. I can't remember. It's been 6 or 7 years. I thought it was six. It might be seven. I don't know.
So not at the high level. I tell you, let's
Yeah.
let's do that, because you're right. You pivot every
Yeah.
time. Not at your high level, because
Yeah.
even today you're pivoting for what's next. I'm
Mm,
talking about, I want to reach those, they they haven't even got to a thousandaire yet. They want to be a
Yeah.
millionaire, they want to be six figure, but they haven't even made,
You know,
they
I
haven't made
just
10,000.
Yeah, I just did a podcast episode on this yesterday where I said the whole episode, it was just titled How I Made My First $3,000.
Mm,
Because my first year in business, I made $3,000 for the whole year. And I'm like, why don't I just talk about that? And one of the things I said was, I didn't like on the episode, I don't share a specific strategy. I don't
right.
have a strategy for like, I did this, I posted this, I said this, I had this funnel, I ran these ads, and I made $3,000. I said, I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't following business coaches. I was very new to the industry. I had just been certified as a life coach. So the only coaches I really knew about were my coach. And there was another coach that lived in the same town as me. We partied together in college. Like I was like, that's how I knew her. So I didn't have a lot of voices. I wasn't getting a lot of noise on how it looked. So I was just kind of like, well, this is what my coach is doing. And I think I'm supposed to do something kind of like this. And I just was willing to try things.
Yeah.
I just was like putting out this offer, posting. And I'd said to them, I said, I, the very first thing I did, I said this, I said, I remember getting off of work. I had a 9 to 5. I was going to pick up my daughter from school. I like pulled over on the side of the road. It was like on a back road. And it was this really nice grassy area. There was like a lake over there. So there was like a lot of forest stuff. And it was like springtime. So all the, everything was green. I literally, I said, I propped my phone up on a rock because I didn't have nobody with me. I set the little timer on my iPhone. I backed myself up about 10 feet. And I was like, I leaned down and I was like posing. And I thought, I just need to make this look like somebody took this picture of me. I thought I was supposed to have branding photos because my coach had them. So I was like, what's the next best thing? I guess I'll take a picture with my phone. I just remember it, and I plastered that thing on a Canva graphic and I put it on social media and told the whole world I was a life coach. I said, that's just what I did. And then I just started posting every day. I was posting my thoughts. I was posting my experiences. I was posting my story. I was posting about what I was working on with my coaches, transformations I had, shifts that I had. I said, I rented a room at the library and charged people $5 to come to a 2-hour goal setting workshop that included breakfast and a vision board party
Yeah.
at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, like 18 women showed up. I said, I didn't have a photographer. My husband stood at the back of the room and took pictures of me with my iPhone.
Yeah.
And I said, I really didn't know anything about setting goals. I didn't know at the time there wasn't this narrative that I was supposed to like know everything and I was supposed to be some thought leader as a coach. So I was like, I just knew goals were things that people cared about. I got on Google University and I searched, how do you set goals? And Google said SMART goals, which is like the SMART acronym for goals, right?
Mhm. Yes.
So I just like I don't know, maybe I pulled on research paper writing that I learned in high school, but I just started taking notes and I was writing bullet points and sub points. And I just stood on there in a whiteboard at that workshop and I just wrote out, we're going to do SMART goals today. And I just told them everything that Google had told me about SMART goals, but I said it did something for my self-confidence. I didn't know
Yes.
like
Yeah.
it was wrong. Like I'm not saying it's wrong to do that, but the person I am now, I would never dream of teaching a workshop and like I would not need to Google anything. But I've been in the industry for 7 years. I have my own thoughts, right? I have my own concepts. But back then I was like, this is just what I'm doing. I'm just basically I'm like a teacher. I'm going
Yes.
to get the information, I'm going to teach it, but it did something for my self-confidence.
No,
I was like,
that's so
I had
good.
like 18 women, I think, because I think the room held 20, and I think I had around 17 or 18 women show up. I said they paid $5. I took that $5 per person. I said I went to Aldi's. I was broke, so I bought whatever I could at Aldi's. I gave them some breakfast foods. I had magazines and I had poster board and I had a whiteboard and a marker. And my husband took pictures of me with
You
my
know,
iPhone.
that's crazy because you said I didn't have a strategy. And what I heard, there's another word I heard that you didn't say, but I didn't have steps. Like everybody wants
Yeah, I didn't.
5 steps, 6 steps, all this stuff. But you know what? You did have something, and I need people to really pick this up because you didn't have perfection. You didn't have professional pictures, but
Mhm.
what you had was a passion to start.
Well, I had
You had a
tenacity. I'm like,
yes.
I was like, I'm just
You
willing to
did.
do whatever.
You had tenacity, you had passion, you had
Mm,
persistence, and you created volume with your voice. I'm going to get on and tell people this is who I am. I
yeah.
am going to share what I, and so many times people are missing the next level, the next engagement, their next $1,000 because they're so afraid to
Mhm.
even just start. They're afraid to stick and stay. They're afraid to start speaking. And then not only that, I don't know if you caught this, but you said I went by this little lush area where the grass was green and all of that. I thought you was going to say I seen something, right? Because as soon as you said that, because you painted a picture for me
Yeah.
that sometimes when you see something that is where you want to go or a space of where you want to be, you will start creating whatever it is. It, like you said, if I got to go to artists, if I got to go, whatever I have to do, because I know this ain't it.
Yeah. I knew I didn't have money to hire anyone. I was like, I don't have even a couple $100 to hire a photographer. So I was like, I just need to find a nice background that looks like maybe somebody had me out in the woods taking pictures of me. And I thought, and it's funny. That picture is so funny. That picture is so funny. It's funny. But now that I look back, I'm like, that was cute. I didn't have a plan, but I did have tenacity. I was like,
Yes.
I don't know, but I'm willing to do this. And I
Yeah.
actually had a woman come up to me at the end of it. She went to my church. I didn't really know her, but she went to my church. And she said she was crying. She like found me out in the hallway and she just said, I just realized when we were setting these goals that she said, I've been settling for a long time and I'm not happy with a lot of areas of my life and I want to change them. Like this really was a mirror for me that I don't have goals really. I don't. And so, anyways, I just realized even me teaching SMART goals, they were so sterile. It felt like there was no personality to it. It wasn't me being in my thought leadership. I was like, I can't even remember what it is now, but I
Hmm.
think it's like
Hmm.
S stands for simple and like whatever.
Yes.
I just broke that down for them and was like, this is how, I mean, they could have got it off Google, right? But it really touched her because what we do as coaches is like, what touched her wasn't the SMART goals. It was that I held space for her to
Yes.
dream.
Yes.
I held
Yes.
space for her to dream.
Yeah.
And I held space for her to be in what I call the land of possibility. So, but what's interesting is, so she said all that. And then like a year later, she ended up hiring me to coach her one-on-one. And we worked together for a couple years. And so all of those things compound. That one woman compounded with like what I was posting on social media. I remember after that, I launched a 6-week group program and I charged $97 for the whole 6 weeks. And I taught a weekly class every week for 6 weeks. Everybody got a one on one call with me and it was $97. And I remember a couple ladies being like, I don't have $97. Can I make a couple payments of like $20 every time I get paid? And I'm like, that's fine. I don't care. I was just happy for people to be in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I had 8 people sign up.
Yeah.
And at the end, and again, but that built my um not my confidence, yes, but the word I'm looking for is my self concept.
Yes.
With everything I was doing, I was stepping more and more into like, I'm a life coach.
Hmm.
I'm a
Yeah.
thought leader. People care about what I have to say. People want to learn from me.
Yes. Yeah.
Everything I was doing. So yeah, I only had 8 women sign up. I didn't get millions, but I felt like an expert. I felt like an authority in the space. I was like 8 women show up here every week to listen to me. And then at the end of that, I said, hey, if you guys want to take this work deeper, I'm offering a 4-month one-on-one mentorship. And I only charged them like $175 a month. And they got weekly hour-long calls with me. And I had 4 ladies take me up on that. And then some of them went on to work with me for years. And I just think about because I was willing to try anything. I was like, I'll do this, I'll try this, I'll sell this, I'll put this on social media, I'll do this in person. Nobody was telling me to do these things. I didn't have a business coach. Nobody was
Right.
telling me to do this. I was just
Right.
doing anything.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
have a plan. I didn't have a process. I hadn't bought any programs yet. There was nobody telling me this is what you do. This is how you create an offer. This is how you sell it. I just thought I have a 6-week coaching certification under my belt, which was iffy, if you could even
Hmm.
call me certified, based on
Hmm.
that certification. I don't know. But I was just willing to show up and figure it out. And
Yeah.
that's been my whole journey. But if you're just trying to start, I don't think it really matters if you have a business or a ministry or I don't know what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Right. But you just have to be willing to try things. And that's what I was saying to them on the podcast. I'm like, I don't have an exact strategy to tell you this is what I did. This was my funnel. This is how I made the $3,000. What I can tell you is I was just willing to try anything. Literally, I was just willing to try.
And
It
I
never
think
even
that's
occurred to me that I
good
could
though,
fail. I
because
just tried.
people are not even willing to
They're
try.
not. No, I know they're
People,
not.
they want the 6-figure business without The try to me also means trials. It try to me also means testing. Try to me, like it encompasses all of that. You trying is you willing to have a rough time. You willing for it not to work. It doesn't matter. But in your head, I never looked at failing. I never looked at that I wasn't going to make it. I just kept going. And in my going, I gained more and more for myself. And the more I gained for myself, the more I was able to give to people. And that's what you have done. That's what you have created. And I wish that people that are listening would understand, because I was the opposite. I wanted to do stuff and I was like, oh man, I gotta have this, I gotta have that. I had, because all these people were saying, this is what you gotta have, that's what you gotta have. And I'm looking up, people are making tens and twenties of $1,000s with nothing, while I'm spending a whole year trying to figure out I gotta have this. I didn't need any of that stuff. People didn't want that stuff. They wanted me. They wanted to, like you said, yes, you can get it off Google. And there's some stuff people can still get it off Google, but Google is not going to give the space that Whitney gives. Google's not going to give the space that Micah gives. Google's not going to give the space that Jane gives. And so I love the fact that you said everything was building not so much, what's the word? Not confidence,
Self
but
concept,
yes, a concept,
a concept of myself.
a
Yeah.
concept of yourself that strengthened the confidence that was already there, that tied to the
Yeah.
tenacity that made it push. So
Yeah.
I think this is
Confidence
just
is
great.
I said this on and I didn't come up with this. I don't remember who I heard say this, but I heard somebody say once, and it really clicked with me and I never forgot it. They said, confidence is not something you have to get started. They said confidence is the byproduct.
Mhm.
You have to do the things, and then that's where the confidence comes from. So that's what I was doing. Like I had a self-concept of myself that I was trying to build. Doing the things is what created it. Every time I showed up, every time I put myself in a room, every time I positioned myself as an expert, every time I led a class or sold coaching and someone said yes, every time I got on a coaching call with a client, it's like every call I got off of, I was like, yeah, I'm getting better at this.
Yes.
I'm a life coach.
And all I hear is faith. I mean, I
Yeah.
just hear the word faith. Moving in
I
the
think
impossible.
about
Yeah.
one time I heard, I feel like all I do is quote other people, but I just consume, like attach myself to high level thinkers and then I just
Mhm.
consume all their stuff, right? Because success leaves clues. I'm like, that person
Success
makes,
leads
eight
clues.
figures a year. Let me just be in their energy and figure out just how they move and navigate and think.
Mhm.
And I'm really into Alex Hormozy. He's not for everybody, but one time he put out this tweet that said, I don't remember how he said it. I wish I could remember the exact way because it was powerful. But what he basically said was, he said something like, when you're having a really hard day, you
Mhm.
just remind yourself, this is the moment where most people quit.
Ooh.
But I'm not most people. And I tell myself that all the time. So when you were asking, like, those moments you've had in business where you're like, it's next level season, what do we need to shift? I think it's when things are getting really hard. And you have to say to yourself, and this is why not everybody's an entrepreneur, because these are the moments where most people quit. I'm not most people. So I'm like,
Listen,
if you can just keep going, you don't even have, listen, I compare it to like athletes because I was an athlete growing up. And really, natural ability is only going to take someone so far. It's really that, like, I was a soccer player. Soccer is really all about stamina. You got to be able to run, and you'll be able to run for a
yeah,
long
my
time.
son's a soccer player.
Exactly. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like, natural ability is only going to take you so long. It's really who has the most stamina, who's going to have the
Mm.
most energy left at the end of the game.
Who's got staying power?
That's it.
Who's
Like, if,
got
if
staying
you
power?
do the conditioning you need where you can just outlast the best player on their team, that's all that matters. So, like, in that last 15 minutes of the game, when everybody else is done, wiped out, tired, they're moving slow, they're making sloppy mistakes. Like, if you've been doing your conditioning and you're like, I could go all day, that's all that's going to matter. And I think about that, like when he said that, he's like, you have to remember, this is the place where most people are like, forget it, it's not worth it.
It's
So if
so
you just decide, like, I'm not most people, you can't. I tell my clients this, you literally cannot fail if you don't quit.
you
If
can't.
I tell them, like, if you start a coaching business, because I coach a lot of coaches, I say, if you start a coaching business, you have to burn the ships. You cannot come into this with the thought of like, well, I'll try it for a while and see what happens.
Yeah, no B
Because
plan, no
you
nothing. This is
can't,
it.
because you've
We're
given
on there.
yourself an out, and every time it gets hard, you'll just be like, well, whatever. I don't have to do this forever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But if you're like, no, I'm in this until it works, I tell my clients, you cannot fail because you're just never going to quit. So I'm like,
Right.
if you want to have a 6-figure year business, you just decide, I will literally not quit until I make it happen. It might take you 20 years, but you can't fail if you don't quit. It sounds simple, but if people would really think about what that means, you can't fail if you don't quit. You
No,
might have some
that's powerful.
failures, but you're
Yeah.
going to get where you're going if you just don't ever quit. You're just going
You're
to
going
outlast
to
everybody
get
else.
there. My goodness.
You
Can
will
you?
get there eventually. It may take you a year, it may take you 10, but people have to have that mentality. Because I think, like earlier, when you asked me, where do you think that comes from with people wanting the new this and the new that? They're surrounded by too much noise.
Mm,
I posted on my Instagram the other day, I had screenshots and I said, 2 weeks ago, I was following like 1,200 people on Instagram.
mhm,
If you get on my Instagram today, I'm following like 250. I went and unfollowed like 1,000 people. I was like, I don't need all this noise. I don't need
mhm.
to know what everybody else's thoughts are and everybody else's perspectives and how much money everybody else is making and everybody else's strategy and however why?
Yeah,
I need
it's
to
too
be in
much.
my own thought leadership. We're looking at like, but she started a coaching business and she's already making 6 figures and she's only been doing it 2 years. Then I'm like, if you weren't following that person, you wouldn't even know that to compare yourself to.
Mhm. Yeah,
We
that's
just have to have
terrible.
the thought of like, great, Susie Sally did it in 2 years. Am I willing to keep going if it takes me 9? And
Yeah,
most people don't have that tenacity. That's something I've always had. I'm like, I don't know. I'll just keep going till it happens. And I watch people blow past me.
yeah.
I was like, we started together. How are they already doing that? I don't know.
Tenacity and stamina. Man, it's funny because you were quoting what this gentleman said, and I couldn't help in my faith world. I remember my bishop saying to me one time, and this was so powerful. He said, there's people that can outpreach me. They can do this, do that. He said, it doesn't matter. He said, because they can't outwork me and they don't love it as much as I do. And
Exactly.
that to me, when he said that, I just felt something down in my
Yeah.
old glory, I like to say. And it's
Because
like,
I love
you
it.
love it. And that's just it.
Listen,
Like,
I
I
love
love
it.
it.
I tell
Yeah,
people, I made a joke about this one time, and now I always repeat it to my clients. I'm like, entrepreneurship is hard. I don't care, even if you're doing business with God, it doesn't matter. It's hard.
it's hard.
It's hard. It is when people say if it was easy, everyone would do it. That's not a cliche. That's the truth.
That
Everybody
is.
can't do this. Everybody can't do it. I am a glutton for punishment. I have to be because the things that we go through as entrepreneurs, I don't love, like, let me say this. I don't love it when I'm in it, but we have to be gluttons for punishment because who else goes through what we go through as entrepreneurs and then we'll still come up here next Monday and be like, let's go, knowing there's probably going to be another slap in the face a month from now, a year from now. I'm not just talking about hard days. Like there's things you go through as entrepreneurs and they are hard. And there you will have moments where you're like, why am I doing this to myself? I could just get a job. I
Yeah,
have that every once in a while. I have that fleeting thought. I could just go back to waiting tables. I don't have to do this to
yeah,
myself.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, I love it. Even the hard days, I love being an entrepreneur. I love it. I have to be a glutton for punishment because I will keep coming back for more. I'm
My
like, all
daughter
right,
says something that I just love, and she says the word I get to. Like she's 26 and she's been changing her vocabulary, and is really, she says, I get to do XYZ. She just started her own business, and I'm like, oh boy.
I
You know,
know.
she just started in the photography business, but it's crazy because she was at a mental place where I need to do something else. And I'm telling you, this is how you have to also, as a parent, let's jump into that, get past your convictions or, like your shortcomings or different things. And so when she was ready to do her transition, in my head, I was saying to myself, uh, what are you going to do? You make some money and da, 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 all these different things. And I literally heard God say, shh, be quiet. You know about entrepreneurship. But I didn't tell her to start a business. I said, start a life. Start a life that is going to start a life and create what you want to be able to do for the rest of your life that can bring you in the income that you want. And you create what income you want. You create. And what I did was Whitney was shifted her mindset from us just telling people to start a business, because that's what we do. And they start a business, but they have no clue about the life they want to live. They have no clue about the money they want to earn. But because we have gone through it, we've seen the heartaches, we could literally say, what life do you want to live? How do you want to create it?
Mhm.
And then let them know this is not easy. But like you said, she gets to take amazing pictures of people. She gets to be a part of their life and do the most. She gets to attend their wedding, attend their graduation. She gets to capture their picture. Like you said, when you began to, I'm not just doing it, but I love it. And I get
Mhm.
to do it. And I get to make a ton of money while doing it.
You get to write your own paycheck.
You do.
And it is hard. And I tell people too, like, listen, I'm like, it's hard, but also, and I'm not, okay, I have to be careful of this because sometimes people feel like, I get it. We have to have employees out in the world.
Mhm.
Right. And sometimes people that don't want to be an entrepreneur get real triggered by this and they're like, why can't you just say it's okay to also have a job? And I'm like, listen, baby, it's okay to have a job. But I try to tell people like, it's also hard depending on maybe, okay, let's say it this way. Maybe depending on your personality. For me, yeah, being an entrepreneur is hard, but for my personality, it's also really hard to go work for somebody else for 40
Mhm.
years.
Mhm.
Some people love it. Like my husband, that's his jam. Like just let him clock in somewhere, just tell him what to do, let him sit in his cubicle and do his thing on his computer. He's fine with that.
Right.
He doesn't really he's not about this life. This, right? He would never want to wait tables. I loved waiting tables. I mean, it's
Right.
a hard, thankless job, but I was good at it. I loved it. I tell people, yes, being an entrepreneur is hard, but so is going to a job every day that you don't love and you get one vacation a year. And somebody else is going to tell you what you get to make for the rest of your life. That's also hard. And
Mhm.
that I think is something that also keeps me going. Cause at this point, I told my husband, like, I think I'm certifiably unemployable. I've been a full-time entrepreneur for so long. I'm like, I don't think I can go back. Like, I really can't go back and work for someone else.
I'm
It's not
laughing
going to work
because
for me.
I literally had
It's not going to
said,
work.
oh, I'm gonna go and get a job. And now this is somebody that's not even close to me, but they know me. And they literally, we were talking in general, and they were like, Mike, I wouldn't even hire you. You you're not going to work for somebody. And it hit me that somebody else knows, are you kidding? You are a mover, shaker, the way you travel, this and that. Go work for who? Who's
I
going to tell
know.
you that you can't
I'm
take
always like, "Go
off,
back
that
and
you're
do
that?
what? What am I
Yeah,
gonna do?"
but I like
And
the
I couldn't
fact.
do it. I
Yeah, and
can't.
I like the fact that you
Ugh.
said some people, and again, you have to, my 2 years ago, my favorite saying for myself was know thyself. Like I kept telling myself, my God, know thyself. Get to know you again and know what you like, know what you need. And like I like that you said that there's a bunch of noise. And then realize you have to do what you need. It doesn't matter about anything else. And it's so good that you said that because that's like my mastery thing, to silence out all the noises, all the I call them background noises. Like I can't do the background noise because it disturbs what I need to hear, what I need to focus on as far as where I'm moving and where I'm going. So I'm glad we're having this conversation.
Yeah,
I'm glad we're having
totally.
this conversation.
I
Now I
think
want to ask you a
somebody
question though.
yeah.
I want to talk about mommy Whitney. You got a
Mhm.
senior coming up. I know you don't talk about much because I know it's your business world, but you got a senior. What do you feel about
Yeah.
that?
I don't feel a lot about it. She graduates in a couple weeks. I just have one kid. She's been an adult for so long, it feels like. By adult, I mean she's 18, so she hasn't needed me. I didn't start my business with a bunch of little kids running around.
Yeah.
So I did always have that. I mean, I say I have that luxury. She was still like 11 when I started my business. And, we still had to take her to school. We still had to drive her everywhere. She still was in travel sports, which is a whole other thing, like travel club, soccer. I mean, so we still had things, but I don't know. It doesn't change a lot for me. And I think, well, here's the thing too. I think this is what made a difference. Me and her dad got divorced when she was 3, and we've always had 50-50 custody. So
Mhm.
she's at her dad's half the week and my house half the week. It's always been like that. So I think I've always been so used to her not being here half the time.
Mhm.
For me, it's like, okay, she's 18. But she's also had a job since she was 15. She's had a
Mhm.
license since she was 16. So I'm really at this point used to her not ever being at home because she's always at school and then she's at her job and then she hangs out with her friends and she's got her car and she's ripping and running. And I'm like, yeah, she's Gonna
She's
graduate.
mini you.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's
She's gonna
great. That's
graduate
great.
and she's
Sounds
gonna
like it's
continue to do her thing.
she's mini Whitney. She's got her own tenacity. She knows what she wants. She's been operating and now she's moving. And so
Yeah,
I just I know it's still amazing to see the accomplishment that she's a senior now and she's
it's
going to
wild
start
though.
a new chapter. So
Yeah, I mean,
congratulations.
she's not moving like out of the city or anything right now. So it's like, yeah, our life won't really change other than she'll just have a lot more free time
Yeah.
to hang out with me if that's what she wants to do. But I think really, honestly, I've always been a different mom. I actually was getting coached on this a couple months ago. I actually remember saying to my coach, something had come up. Anyways, doesn't matter. But there was something with my daughter we were dealing with, and I just said, am I a bad mom for not having a lot of thoughts about it? And I think maybe it's because I've been a coach for 7 years, but I hired a life coach before I ever became one. So I have been working on my mindset and
Mhm.
elevating how I think for 8 years. So I think for her teenage years, not that I've always been a perfect parent or I always have great thoughts about things, but coaching is just being such a grounded human. That's what we're really doing. So I think for me, what I was saying to my coach though was, I was like, am I terrible for not like having a total meltdown about this? And
Mm-mm.
she was like, about something with me and my daughter. And she was like, why do you have to have a meltdown? I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like other moms would be.
But once
And then I,
again, you're not other
I
moms, you're
know.
not other
I
people.
just was like, why? Like, why have a meltdowns? Like, there's no point. So I think even, I mean, there's part of me that's like, that's kind of wild that your kid is 18 because time is flying. Like you're just like, dang. But I was only 21 when I had her. So I'm only 39 right now.
Right.
So for me, I think what makes me different is while other parents are like, oh, my baby. And like, I'm like, this is great. I'm only 39. This is like second act, baby. I can do so much now.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, no, you're exactly right.
I'm like,
That's
I
how
got a whole other life I'm about to go live.
that's how I was. I had my first one at 21, but then of course you only got one. I had two more after that. So life kept going on. But I feel like that now when people say we're empty nesters and they were like, "Oh, don't you miss them?" And I was like, "No." And I was
Not
like,
really.
"I learned to love
Yeah.
my kids at every age. When they were two, that was cute and we loved them. When they were teenagers, I love that age and running around. And they're adults now. And I will tell you, I love our relationship now. I love the conversation that I'm able to have. I mean, we talk about money, we talk about real estate, we talk about investment. Like it's a
Yeah.
different thing. I love them at this level, and I don't miss having.
I
I
don't
don't.
either.
I,
Every
I
time
tell
we're
people
around
all the
little
time.
kids, me and my husband are like, I'm not about that life. We're just like at a restaurant and someone behind us, their kid is screaming, and I'm like, I'm not about that life. I
No,
don't miss those. It's like you love it. I told my mom, I loved it when I was in it. And I think God, He gives you grace for your seasons. So obviously I had a grace for when they're toddlers, and there's a grace for when they're,
you do.
14.
God gives it to you.
But I don't have it anymore. Like we get around, when I'm at restaurants and I'm like, oh God, I'm not like mad or judging anyone. I just think to myself, like, I don't want to hear anyone's kid screaming. And I just think it's so funny because my kid was the screaming kid behind someone's table at some
Yeah,
point,
yeah.
and you just learn to deal with it. And it's just your life, right? But now I think I'm not about that life anymore.
Well, I think too. It's so good that because you said I'm not judging, I'm not doing this. Like people try to make you feel bad because you feel that way. And I was me and my husband was talking, and I said, "Hey, I am a great mom. I was a great mom when my kids are little." And I remember having a conversation with my adult children, and I was like, no one, not even you all, will make me feel bad about living this life that I'm now living in the freedom that I live as far as my travel and my this and
Yeah.
like you're right. People like around you will try to make you feel some kind of way, and you have to
Mhm.
silence them off too, because you're like, no, or for us, we're grandparents, right? And we don't like somebody says you don't have your grandkids, and I was like, they're with their parents. My mama didn't raise my children. I'm like, that's what we like. I'm like, no, we don't. Like, yeah, they come over, yeah, they come, but most of the time when we were visiting, we were with our kids when we went visited grandma. We were with this different stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they can't come for a summer break or do different things, but there's some people's in their mindset, they believe that as a grandparent you're supposed to keep the kids all the time. You're supposed to do. I was like, I was like, that's not how that goes. Well, at least not for us. And again, everybody has their different. Because I've talked to parents, they were like, "Oh no, not me. I want my grandkids all the time, and they're going to be
No,
here
when I
all the
got pregnant at
time."
21, I was in college. My first, yeah, college. No, I had just started beauty school. I did a year of college and then I was like, can I please just go to beauty school? Because that's what I wanted to do the whole time, but they made me go to college first. I was like, okay, I did a year. I don't want to do this anymore. Can I go to beauty school now? And so I was like 3 days into beauty school, found out I was pregnant. I was with her dad. We were dating, but we weren't married. I was 21. He was 22. And I remember when I told my parents, I just remember my mom being like, not in the same time that I told them, but at some point early on of me being pregnant, I remember my mom saying, just to be clear, we raised our kids, so we're not raising yours. Like she was just making that very clear. Like, just so we know what's up
We
moving
don't want
forward,
we don't
we
want to have
raised
any
our kids, me and
confusion.
my brother. She was like, I raised you and your brother, and we're not planning on raising more kids.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, they're very involved in her life, and ironically, they actually ended up having her all the time. They're just, like, obsessed with her, but that came from overflow of, like, bring her over here and let her come stay for the weekend, and we're gonna take her to, the amusement parks, and we wanna do this and have sleepovers, but it wasn't coming from, like, me just thinking I'm just gonna,
Right. It
leave
was
my
their
kids at my mom's all the
initiation
time.
and their
Yeah,
engagement. And so,
right.
yeah, that's
But
different.
she
Well,
had the
I'm
same
just
conversation with me. She said, "We raised our kids, and we're not raising yours."
Yeah.
I was
And
like,
then
"Okay."
I mean it's amazing. My children, don't get me wrong, they don't even think like that. They love
Yeah.
raising their own children. They love, I mean, they're great. They're great parents. So I'm Whitney, I'm just so happy to just have this conversation, just very natural. And I know our time is getting ready to wind up, but I want to ask you the one question, because I know I've been saying these are the different things that I'm talking about. And that is, what do you think the challenge? Why does so many people have a challenge with money? Like I know you.
Christians or non-Christians? Because I think that answer is different depending on who we're talking about.
Oh, let's talk about Christians.
Well, this is so since you're a woman, I'm a woman, and there's gonna be a lot of probably mostly women that listen, I will say I always call it double whammies. I think Christian women have 2 double whammies working against them because I think one, on the Christian side, just as Christians, not just Christian women, as Christians, most circles and what we've been taught by Christian culture is it shouldn't be about the money, you shouldn't be chasing money. The love of money is the root of all evil, and I think there's kind of been a narrative of like if you're chasing it, if you're trying to make more of it, if you're
Then you
talking
love
about it,
it.
it must mean
Hmm.
you love it, so now you're
Hmm.
evil. And it should be about, Jesus didn't even have a place to lay his head. People love to quote all these scriptures, and it's interesting because I have people in my life that like will there I think that I've seen other Christians like in my world there's almost this narrative that's embedded in us that I call it, people really demonize the prosperity gospel, but I think there's absolutely a poverty gospel that's just as damaging. I think the problem is we don't sit in the middle. People
Ooh.
either swing to the prosperity gospel, which I understand what people are talking about when they say that. And I think some people are so terrified of that, they swing into this poverty gospel. And I think that there's this thought that it's enlightened and you're more spiritually awakened and you're more in tune with God if you don't have anything. It's
Mm,
like it's like the
mm.
spiritual enlightenment to be poor and destitute. And I'll hear people say, I've literally heard this out of people's mouths where they really believe, but if you're just creating everything on your own, like if you're just out there and making lots of money and doing this, like you're not trusting God for anything. Like
Wow.
truly communing with God is like the missionaries that have to trust God for every meal.
Hmm.
Those are the people that are really connected to God. And I think so we've kind of been led to believe like having a good job and having a lot of money and doing this and doing that, that's not biblical. And you're not as spiritually enlightened and like in tune with God as the missionaries that have to trust God for their every meal. And we should all just be in a place where we just give away all our possessions and trust God for everything. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. Not because I think God's asking me to and I just don't want to. I'm like, I don't have that call. There is no stirring in my spirit that makes me think that's what God has for me or
Right.
for most people. I think it's the opposite. I think there's actually a small percentage of people that is what God has asked of them in their life. For
Yes.
whatever reason, they are supposed to live a very certain life and it's supposed to look a very certain way because it's going to be their story, their testimony, and the way they draw people in. I think that's a small percentage.
Hmm.
I just think we all have to listen to God, unless God's calling you to that. But I think a lot of people just think that's how it should be. But when I heard Jennifer Allwood say one time, "Do you really think that a bunch of poor, broke Christians is reflecting the character of God to the rest of the world?" She was like, "Do you
Then-
guys really think that?" She was like, "You being poor and busted down and destitute and on the struggle bus in your business, not trying to make more money." She was like, "That is not going to make anybody want to come to God.
No, that
Like,
is
that's
not
not a
attractive to the
it's
kingdom, is not
not."
attractive to anything. It's so
Ugh.
funny. I was just telling somebody, I said, in the Christian culture, I was like, kingdom didn't start, they didn't start talking about kingdom till like 20 years ago. And we were just saying how we have been culturally conditioned, is what you're basically saying, to believe that poverty is holiness. And it is so repulsive, really,
You know
to
what? Honestly,
who God is.
poverty. So one time I heard, again, I feel like I'm just quoting other people, but I just consume it. And then I love it so much. I think it was Chris Valentin that said, so he basically was like, if you're a Christian and you're uncomfortable with wealth and riches, he said, you're going to be really uncomfortable when you get to heaven.
You're not
You're
gonna like
not going to
heaven.
like it in heaven.
You're not
And
gonna
my
like
thought
heaven.
was, and this was just my thought, and if it's supposed to be on earth as it is in heaven, then my reality should reflect that down here.
Yeah, you better preach now,
I
witch.
don't, it's like
Come
on earth
on.
as it is in heaven. We all say it. So
Yes, but we don't want to
if
live
heaven
it.
is seas of glass and streets of gold, why would I have to wait? That doesn't make sense. It's on earth as it is in heaven. I'm supposed to pull it down.
Yes, you're supposed to pull it down and create it here. It's there. Bring it here. You don't have to wait till you get there. I'm so happy to have this
Oh, and here's
conversation.
a thought too. This changed the game for me when I thought about this. People think that like rich people only think about money. They're like, people with money, all they think about is money. But I'm like, no, actually, you want to know who thinks about money more than anyone? People that don't
Broke
have it.
people.
Broke
Mhm,
people.
mhm.
Because now you're in survival mode.
Yep.
So if you really want to be good for the kingdom, who's doing that when your nervous system is in fight or flight and you're in survival mode? When I heard someone say that, they were like, rich people really don't sit around thinking about money. It's poor people that think about money. And the reason it landed is because I thought about myself. I'm like, when I was broke and I was on Section 8 and I was on food stamps, I was
Come
always
on.
thinking about money
Yep.
because you're trying to make it work all the time. You're trying to stretch
Mhm.
everything. Even when me and Jeremy were first married, we weren't like broke, like we could pay our bills, but that was it. There wasn't a
Right.
bunch left.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go on vacation, you had to schedule a year ahead of time and save up for a whole year to even just take a little piddly vacation. We didn't have a bunch of like if the car broke down or if I needed new tires, that $800 was life or death. It was like, "Oh my
Listen, you put
God,
a
where are we gonna
post
get
up. Didn't
that?"
you put a post up about you were
Yes.
sitting somewhere and you saw, and I thought, let me tell you
Just
something.
last week I was at the mechanic and I was
That
like, "I don't
post
know what this is gonna cost," but I was like, "I don't even care because I know I got it."
That post stirred me because I told my husband, I said, do you remember when we needed tires and we didn't have the money?
I know.
And we literally had to take out, I'll never forget, we had to take out a Firestone credit card just
Mhm.
to get tires. So when people
Yeah.
ask me like pivotal things, like I'm like you, I got a whole bunch of them. But those moments I don't forget, because those
No.
moments are
I
say
had to
are
take out a care
I would
credit
never
card
go.
to get dental work when I was in my 20s. I had to get a root canal or
Yeah.
a crown. I had to get a crown. I had cracked a tooth eating something. I don't even know what happened. I just had a giant crack in my back tooth. And I waited so long to get it looked at. I probably could have not needed a crown, but I sat with that thing for like a year and a half till the pain got so bad I couldn't take it. And at that point, I had to get a crown. I didn't have $600. I had to take out one of those care credit cards. It's like a credit card you just use for like medical bills.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, now it's like 600. I mean, no, nobody wants to spend $600 on their teeth, but if I got to the register and they were like $600, I'd be like, oh, well, that sucks, but all right. Like I just have it. So when I was sitting there getting my brakes replaced, I'm like, I don't know. This could be $400 if I just need the back ones. It could be like $700 if I need all of them. I wasn't stressing it. I was like, whatever. I'll
Mhm.
have it. So when someone said that, they said, no, the people that think about money the most are broke people, not rich people. The
Yeah.
people with money aren't the ones sitting around thinking about money. And I thought, oh my God, they're right. Because I spent my entire adult life thinking about money because I never had any. So you're always thinking about it. You're always stressing it. I was always picking up more shifts. I was always being ruthless at my serving jobs because I'm like, put me in the best section, give me the best tables. I have to make money. Give me
Yeah.
your closing shift. I have to make money.
Mhm.
Right? petty. Like the serving industry is petty because you want to be in the best section with the best tables. You're fighting over tables. It's like, because we're all in there broke trying to make money. We're the ones thinking about money more than rich people. So when I say, I'll keep this short, but when I say double whammy, what I'm saying
Yeah.
is I think we get that message as Christians that it's
Yeah.
wrong to want to make money, right? But then as Christian women, we're also
Hmm.
conditioned as women, but you're just supposed to be a nurturer and a giver and a self-sacrificer. We're
Ah,
just
come
supposed to give
on.
of ourselves to people. We're just supposed to take care of everybody. That's why you
Right.
listen. When was the last time you heard a man, especially a white man? When was the last time you heard a middle-aged white man say, "It's not about the money for me"?
I haven't heard one.
None. It's just women, they'll say, I want to have a coaching business, but it's just about helping people. It's not about the money. I'm like, why are you saying that? Who told you to say that? That's not, no. So
Yeah.
I think as Christian women, it's a hard thing with money because we have both. We have the Christian side of it where it's wrong to chase money. And then as women, we're like, it's not supposed to be about money. You're just a nurturer by nature. You're just supposed to love and serve and sacrifice and give of yourself and put everybody else before you. Why are you charging for that? Why don't you just serve people? Why don't
Hmm.
you just give that away for free? That should just be ministry. You're a life coach. That should just be ministry.
Oh my gosh. Now you already
Nobody's
know.
saying that to men. And that's my thing. I mean, I'm not going to get into the conversation about the patriarchy, but it is real. And no one's saying that to men.
No,
Men
it's
are not
very
walking
real.
around saying, like, it's not about the money for me.
Yeah, we
Men
can look
are,
at real in the in the NBA and in the WNBA for versus what they get paid. When me and my husband was talking about that, I was
I
like, "You're
know.
kidding me." I was like, "She gets how much a
But
year?"
think about listen, because we're soccer people, this is where I get really fed up. The men's United States soccer team is not that great. And every year, the women's soccer team goes way farther than the men's in the
Uh-huh.
World Cup, like almost
Hmm.
every time. And yet, the women still make less and they're much better players,
Hmm.
right? You're right. They just make less. So again, it's not like I'm not like a feminist. I'm not into that. But
No, yeah, you're
I do
fine.
think there's a patriarchal, I think it's a spirit. It's not men
Mm.
against women. There's this patriarchal spirit that just says women should just give of themselves. You hear a lot of women say, well, I've had women say to me, oh, well, like I'm pregnant now, so I have to pull back on my business a little bit. Why?
Hmm.
Your husband's not saying that. Your husband's not going to go to his boss and be like, my wife is pregnant, so we have to scale back. They don't even have that thought that they can't have it all. It's
Hmm.
only women that think, well, I can't raise a family and have a business because then I won't be a good mom.
Yes, that
No,
is
men never
cultural
think that. Men
conditioning.
never think that
You're
because
exactly
they're
right.
not conditioned that it's not possible for them to
Yeah.
have a family and have a successful business. Only as women, society, movies, culture, some people's religions has told. I have a friend. Oh my God, you're gonna fall off your chair when I tell you this. I have one of my best friends is a coach. And she was in a conversation with another Christian woman. They had met for like a coffee date. She had met this woman at her church, and the
Uh-huh.
woman literally said to her, I just don't know about you. Like, why are you trying so hard to build this business? She goes, you're not really being a godly wife. You're supposed to let your husband provide. You should just stay home and take care of your kids.
Mm.
And she was really like, is she right? And I was like, no. She was like,
Mhm.
you're not being a godly wife. And she said, and you're not allowing him to be a godly husband and be the provider. I was like, what? What? Where?
That
Where in the Bible? Where?
but that right there though,
But
Wit,
it's real.
but that is real. I mean,
Like people really believe it.
I'm
She
thinking of
said it because she
four.
thought she was looking out for her. She really thought she was like, listen, you're not being a godly wife. And I'm like, oh
Watch
my
this.
God.
Soon as you said that though, because I'm picturing about
I
five
couldn't believe
people.
it. I was like, do
No, no,
not listen to
no,
her.
no. I'm picturing about five people. And here's the reason this is it right here. There are women that will receive that because they get accepted in their church
Oh, yeah, it's survival.
as as um as the greatest. That like you'll they'll go, oh, she can go home and her husband could privately fight because they can't figure out how to pay the light bill that's coming up, but she won't assist because when she goes to church, she's culturally accepted
Mhm,
by everybody as the sweet, saved, sanctified
mhm.
wife.
Crazy. I
And
don't get, oh my God.
no, I'm serious. Like, but
I
this is the
know. I
cult. No,
can't.
no, no. But this is the cultural conditioning that we have given, and we say it's all godly.
Mm,
And but I'm like you. Here's the dangerous part. and you will have a Wit or a Micah, and they're pastoring ministry, they're coaching, they're making money, and we will get looked at as you really she oh, I know her because I've been through this. Oh, I think she's a pastor, but she does some all kind of other stuff. I think she's just a really motivational speaker. She don't really pastor.
Mhm.
Like,
Oh,
because
wow.
they will look at, and so I love the fact that earlier in our conversation, you got to shut out the background noise. That lady that she talked to is a background noise.
Yeah.
These other stuff, those are background noises. And I'm telling you, you said it earlier, the key component is to know how to hear from God yourself, because most people's reiteration or what's the word I want to say, gurgitation, because they're
Mhm.
throwing up on you, is something that they've just been culturally conditioned with
Yeah.
that has no weight in
Right.
the word of God.
They've
And
never checked it for themselves. We just,
no,
man.
we
So
just
that's
receive
why
it. No, no,
I like
I
that's
understand.
our long conversation on why I think that's why so many people, but especially Christian women, struggle to give themselves permission to
Mhm.
go make that money, secure that bag,
Give yourself permission.
to
Hey, listen,
secure
I
the
don't,
bag,
me and Whitney can talk all day. I told her I was
have the
going to
bag.
keep her
Yeah.
just for an hour. Listen, to all our listeners out there, I hope you picked up on something today. I hope you heard. Listen, we talked a little bit about mommy, but mostly what I heard, we talked about mindset. We talked about having the tenacity of moving and operating in who you are.
Mm.
And if you all didn't catch it from my faith baby, everything we talked about was faith.
Yeah, for real.
Moving on the impossible, moving on the invisible, knowing that God is going to do it. We talked about let's start. And here's the key, don't quit. I can give you all my testimony. I've quit so many different things. I mean, I should be a gazillionaire really by now, but because most of the time I'm like, oh, I'm done because this is just too much. But when you get the passion and there's something that will stir in you that say you have to keep going. And hello, people, you can make money.
Yeah.
Hello, people, you can be wealthy and still love the Lord. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, this is how you help build wells. This is how you help do schools. This is how you help impact churches. And I tell people all the time, I don't want my people in my church broke. I
Yeah.
don't.
That doesn't help
That's
anybody.
dumb. That's
Yeah.
stupid. I want them all very wealthy. I want them all. But are you saying? Oh, see, that's what I'm saying. Are you saying you don't want poor people to come to church? I didn't say that. I'm saying that my cultural development within my mind, I'm like, Whitney, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I don't have to wait to die to experience the goodness of God. You
Mhm.
can have a business, you can be prosperous. So,
Mm.
Whit, I love me some you.
Mm.
Thank you for just taking this hour out. I mean, this is just us talking
I
anyway,
know.
just letting everybody in on the conversation, right?
Mhm.
Because it's just, yeah, it's just good. So thank you.
You're
Keep doing
welcome.
great things.
Yeah.
Keep coaching. Keep being you. I love it. We have you here with us this summer. I'm excited about
I
that.
know.
Yeah.
Jeremy's coming. It's gonna be good.
Yes. Yes. I mean, time is just flying. I cannot wait. My grandkids have us getting a farm because they said we're going to get cows and we're going to get horses because that's what Papa's going to do. So I guess eventually we'll be looking
There's
for,
that.
yeah,
That's
there's,
happening now.
that's,
Okay.
yeah, we're getting a farm now. So that's what's going on. But you got anything you want to leave the people with before we get ready to?
No, I think we covered it. I would say just go back and listen to this and just marinate on it. You'll take something different every time you listen.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. I
Welcome.
appreciate you. I appreciate you so much.